My name is Sarah Wilson, and my Bible lesson is on the Israelites after they've come out of their slavery in Egypt. I'll be using Sally Lloyd Jones' Jesus Storybook Bible as my companion in this lesson. She uses the passages from Exodus 16 through 17 and 19 through 40 to paraphrase the journey that the Israelites take and how they learn to trust God in every situation and how having an ungrateful spirit does not lead to good choices. In the story, the Israelites had just come out of Egypt. They were in slavery and they were treated very poorly. Now, as they came out of Egypt, the Pharaoh sent soldiers after them. Moses led the people out, and through the Lord helping the Israelites seek refuge in the desert, he wiped out the Egyptians, and they were safe. Moses led the people through the desert in hopes of finding a new home and finding the place that the Lord had promised that they would have, the place flowing with milk and honey. However, the Israelites, having their sinful nature, didn't always follow God's directions very well. They didn't remember that God had done such amazing things for them. They had forgotten all the wonderful deeds and all the ways that He had helped them, and God brought them safely to the desert and away from their horrible lifestyle. Yet, the Israelites didn't exactly feel so grateful about what the Lord had done for them. They didn't have good food, and they didn't have good living conditions. They slept in tents, they were hot, they were smelly, and honestly, they were probably really tired. But they still had freedom, and they had their Lord to protect them. But some of them, well, most of them, didn't really see it that way. In a way, wasn't it better when they were slaves? They actually had good food to eat, but they were still slaves. They were not free, and they were treated so poorly that they were living in such terrible conditions. And the Lord didn't want that for His people. So He brought them out to the desert with Moses' help, or with Moses himself. He used Moses to bring them out to the desert, where He provided for them. He provided their food by bringing them manna. He provided them with shelter and with protection. They won every battle most of the battles that they were faced with because they trusted in the Lord. However, when they weren't trusting in the Lord, there was consequences to that. They would be disciplined just like we are disciplined by our parents. This story teaches us to be grateful. We need to be grateful for what we have, for the food that we have, and for the clothing we have, for our parents, for God who sent His Son to die on the cross for us, for our salvation. The story is about God's people in His desert and how we need to be warned through these people to not be discontent with what we have. Even when we're in situations that we don't really like maybe we don't have the latest trend in fashion, or maybe we don't have the best of food, maybe we don't have very much money, but we still need to be grateful for what we do have. We do have a roof over our head, and we do live in a free country. Well, most of us. And that's something to be grateful for. We also need to remember that God does not abandon us. Sometimes He puts us in situations where He tests our faith. But through that, we are supposed to grow and trust in Him. The Israelites didn't do a very good job of trusting Him very often. When they weren't trusting Him, they would lose battles, they would be hungry, they would make bad choices, and through that they realized that it wasn't very good to not trust in the Lord. But when they were trusting in the Lord, when they did put their trust back in Him, they were successful in everything they did. They had the Almighty God on their side, and who can stop that? This story teaches us that we need to be content in what we have. We need to be grateful for what the Lord has provided us. And just as we are grateful for what He's provided us, we need to also remind others and our friends that they need to be grateful too for what they have. Thank you, and have a wonderful time.